Hello friends, this is an interview between Abby and Liam from the Evolving Love Project and Christopher Ryan, who you might know as the author of Civilized to Death, Sex at Dawn, and also the host of the Tangentially Speaking podcast. So they have a really interesting conversation about polyamory, monogamy, and all these wonderful things. And this particular snippet is the idea of what does my person actually mean in the context of polyamory? For those that don't know much about polyamory, it's the idea of having multiple loves. And sometimes sexual exclusivity is equated with love. And so how does that actually work in polyamory where you don't have that sexual exclusivity? And so I'm going to play the interview here from this comment that Liam makes about Abby being his person, and we'll go from there.
Actually, the non-monogamy stuff, but there was such a deep connection that I felt so immediately that I really knew that I just knew it in my body that this was like my person.
That's interesting. You said I knew immediately in my body this was my person.
I think a common misconception about polyamory as well is that I'm polyamorous and I've got multiple partners, and that must mean that everyone has a common footing. And that is the way that some people choose to do polyamory. There's a continuum between what's called hierarchical polyamory and non-hierarchical polyamory. So just to clarify, what Abby and Liam are talking about here is probably hierarchical polyamory, in that Liam is basically saying, this is my person. Notice he doesn't say, these are my people, or Abby is part of my tribe. He's saying, Abby is my person. And I can see how hierarchical polyamory might make sense for them, just given that they've got a family and they've got kids and stuff like that. So it possibly makes sense in terms of them organizing their life around their kids. You might have a case of a person that has multiple partners, and they basically say, like, all of my partners get a similar level of status, and so certain challenges can arise, like, for example, when it comes to like events. Let's say Metallica are touring and I really want to see Metallica, and I know person A and person B like Metallica. So the decision I might have to make in these cases is like, treat everyone equally or not at all. And if I can't afford to buy Metallica tickets for everyone, it might be a matter of no one sees Metallica, or only I'm gonna buy my ticket to Metallica, and person A and person B will have to buy their tickets to Metallica. And if they can, then we all go together and have a great time. And if not, I just go by myself and have a great time. So that's a little overview about hierarchical and non-hierarchical polyamory. It's simple. It's a simplified view of it. There are great discussions about whether hierarchical polyamory is actually polyamory. I'm not going to try and go into it here. It's a whole can of worms. There is also this idea of my person being connected to the idea of a soulmate, or like having the one person in your life. And I think that's really a lot of pressure to put onto one person, in that, like, you've got this one person that's meant to meet all of your needs, and I discussed that in a video, so you can take a look at that. I think it's going to appear in one of these corners, and enjoy. Let's continue on.
I think a lot of people, when they think about non-monogamous couples, would assume that you don't have that kind of romantic vision of relationships, like your relationship. One of them being that you're not really that committed to each other, because if you were, you wouldn't be having sex with other people, right? Mm-hmm. How do you respond? How do you deal with that when you get that from someone? Like, oh, he doesn't really love you, Abby, because if he loved you, he wouldn't let you do this.
First of all, just before Abby starts talking, I think what Chris is saying here about, if Liam really loved you, he wouldn't allow you to do this, meaning go and have sex with other people. It's like Chris isn't the only person to say something like this, and it's usually said in the context of, if the man really loved this woman, then he would not allow this woman to go and do something, to go and do these other things. And first of all, I think it's unfortunate, because it speaks to the idea that the man has to control somehow his woman's behavior. And But I think also the other sense is, I think in any healthy relationship, there are agreements, but I don't think anyone ever controls the other person's behavior, really. The idea of, oh, I can't do that because my partner won't allow that, it's just basically takes away a lot of personal agency. And it's like, you could just basically say, like, I don't want to do this because this will potentially make my partner upset, and I'm not comfortable with opening this can of worms at the moment. You make it about you, and you don't make it about your partner. Sure, your partner's going to be upset. However, by basically saying that they're not going to allow you to do it, that's not really fair on them. It's basically trying to shift some of the discomfort that you're going to feel onto them, and basically saying, like, it's basically another way of saying, I don't want to engage in this discomfort, so I'm just going to basically say my partner won't let me do this. And so I think talking like that takes away a lot of personal agency. Personal agency with gratitude is probably one of the two biggest pillars in mental wealth that you can get. And so I'd hate to see anyone frivolously giving that away.